Hello and welcome everybody. For those that are returning, I'm glad to have you here again, and the new viewers, I'm glad to have you with us on this journey. Today's case takes us to the coast of Kenya, specifically Kilifi County. The coast of Kenya is well known for its beaches, white sandy beaches, blue waters, pristine air, warm breeze and greenery. The coast of Kenya is so beautiful and is home to many indigenous Swahili Mijikenda communities and other transplants, including expatriates from Italy, Europe and across the world. Tourists from all over the world come to the coast of Kenya to see these pristine beaches, white sandy beaches, blue waters and greenery in the millions. It's a very, very lucrative sector for the country and for the local communities. So it was shocking when the country learned in April 2023, 15th April 2023, when the country learned that there has been a cult operating from under the nose of the locals in Kilifi County, specifically Malindi. This story broke headlines locally and internationally. So, how did we get here? And who is the leader of this cult? Which church is it? And all this, we're going to get into it. But for now, take a second to like, subscribe and share this video with as many people as you'd wish, so that more people can get to enjoy these stories, as I'm sure you're going to do. The world came to a standstill and Kenyans were shocked to find that their calm coastal region had been experiencing a cult operation for several years without anybody noticing. Did no one notice this, or did the locals and the authorities just ignore this matter in this cult community? The Good News International Church in Malindi was founded in 2003 by Pastor Paul McKenzie. Paul McKenzie had branched off from the church he was going to in Malindi after having minor differences with his previous pastor. So he decided to move on and create his own church in Malindi, and a few people from the church came with him to start the Good News International Church. That was in 2003. But who is Pastor McKenzie? Where did he come from? And how did he transition to the place that he is today as a globally renowned cult leader with more than 211 people, bodies exhumed from mass graves in his Chakama Ranch inside the Shakahola Forest of Kilifi County? Paul McKenzie was born in 1973 in Shimba Hills, Kwale County, the coast of Kenya. He grew up as a fifth born among 10 children in a family that was church oriented and would attend the African Brotherhood Church in Kwale County. In his childhood, he was known to be, by his brothers and sisters, to be a loving person, but very strict, direct with what he wanted, and was always, some of his siblings have narrated that they found him to be a bit pushy, but not too much that it will raise alarms. So Paul McKenzie went to Mwalewa Primary School, which is in Kwale County, and later went to Lukore High School or Lukore Secondary School for his secondary school education in the same Kwale County. So he studied within his local area, his childhood home. McKenzie then moved to Malindi in the late 90s. he was brought to Malindi by his younger sister, who was married to a white man in Malindi. So Mackenzie came from Kwale. Kwale is in the coast of Kenya, and Malindi is in the coast of Kenya. There are two towns in the coast of Kenya. So Mackenzie came from Kwale County to Kilifi County. Malindi is in Kilifi County, and this entire operation happens in Kilifi County. So Mackenzie moved from Kwale to Kilifi County in the late 90s under the stewardship of his sister, where he began working as a taxi operator. In the late 90s, as he was a taxi operator, he made a few friends here and there, and he would go to church in his local town in Malindi. But in 2003, late 2002, Malindi began having doctrinal differences with his then pastor, which prompted him to leave the church unceremoniously and go begin his own church in Malindi town, where a few followers from his previous church followed him to begin with him in this new journey, where the Good News International Church was formed and nurtured in Malindi town. Mackenzie was so popular with his fellow former taxi drivers and other locals. For those that don't know, Malindi is a small town where most people know, the locals know each other. It's so easy for the locals to know each other, especially those operating such a taxi business or small businesses in town. So Malindi was a town where Mackenzie has been known for years, since the late 90s, due his nature of work and later on as a pastor. Mackenzie began operating this church under the doctrine that every other thing in the world has no importance. The important thing now is for people to find a way of getting to heaven. So the church was operational from 2003 to date, where this case broke and everything, just the Pandora's box just opened and everybody was shocked. Fast forward to 2017, Mackenzie was arraigned in court, was arrested and arraigned in court for religious indoctrination and radicalization, where he won the case. The judge let him go. 2019, he was again arraigned in court for religious incitement against other religions, which include Islam, Buddhism, and Malindi is a local town where Christians are there, but the coast of Kenya is largely Islamic. So for a pastor to be teaching against such other religions, which are also part of the majority in their local community, creates issues. But let's go back. Mackenzie was married to his first wife in 2002 and she died in 2009. They were blessed with 2 children. He then married his second wife in 2012 and she died in 2018. They were blessed with 4 children. So the 2 children from the first wife went to school. Mackenzie had not become so radical about his doctrine and ideologies. But the kids with the second wife, whose marriage lasted between 2012 and 2018, where they were blessed with 4 kids, these 4 kids didn't go to school. At this point, Mackenzie had become so rigid about his indoctrination. So in 2018, after his second wife died, Mackenzie, I think something happened. He had been, between 2003 and 2019, he had been charged 4 times with religious incitement, indoctrinating children, radicalization, and radicalization against other religions and the government. So after, I think the time that he was arraigned in 2019, Mackenzie got tired of this because he felt like he was being haunted. He decided to close his church, and just as a sidebar, if you didn't know, the church also had a television station where he would preach some of the sermons live. As it was happening in church, they would air it live on their television station. So Mackenzie closed down the studios, closed down the church television, closed down the church itself in 2019, claiming that he told his people and everybody, even his former local taxi men that he had known since that time, he told them that he had done all the work. It is Jesus that had called him to this profession, this pastorhood. Now he had done teaching the Bible. His people were ready now to meet God. He had done everything. He was completely sure that he had taught everything that he could teach. He closed the church and everything, and he got a 10-acre piece of land in Shakahola Forest, where he moved with his believers. Side note, Mackenzie had believers from across the country, not just local coastal people or Malindi people. He had followers from Nyanza, Kisumu, Kakamega, mostly Western, Kisumu, Nyanza, Kisii, Kakamega, but also other towns across the country. And even people could come from the capital city in Nairobi and the coastal city of Mombasa to go to his church. So it had really cast a wide net. Mackenzie closed it down and encouraged his followers to follow him to Shakahola Forest, where they would start the Chakama Ranch, and where now everything that has happened, really the ball really started rolling. As you can see, he had told his people that he was done with preaching. So what was he preaching? How did his Bible teachings, his church, his television station come into this level of massacre that we are seeing today? That brings us to his doctrine. Pastor Mackenzie taught his people that government services were evil. Government services were evil. Small businesses were evil. He taught them that big businesses were evil. So in short, all types of business were evil from the devil. He taught them that all forms of employment were evil and from the devil. So basically, and he also told them that government services are evil. Things like the police, healthcare systems, the education system are all government services. And Mackenzie told his people that these things were evil. Just how does somebody get to believe such blatant lies? It goes back to the radicalization, religious incitement, and indoctrination that Mackenzie has previously been charged about. So he moved to Chakama Ranch with his people, where most of them had left their families, left their jobs, left their businesses, and followed him to Chakama Ranch. And in Chakama Ranch, he was encouraging and even forcing them to fast. He told them that those that fast and go on hunger streaks are going to meet their Maker. They're going to heaven. Which religious believer? I'm going to pose this question to you, my audience. As a religious believer, which religious believer would not want to go to heaven? So his call to action was that if you fast long enough so that you are able and willing to die from this fasting, then that's a direct ticket to heaven. So Mackenzie's followers dropped everything, came to Chakama Ranch, and most of them were fasting. Families came with kids, and they were all fasting, including these kids. That's why we come to the death toll that we have today of 211 on May 16, which is only expected to go up. These people stabbed themselves to death. So which type of person will think this was a good idea? You'll be shocked to find that professionals were duped, business people were duped, government officials were duped, Mackenzie trapped everybody, including university students, secondary school going children, and even primary school going children, through their parents and otherwise. Some of them kids, Mackenzie just found them and brought them to church. So some kids were there unwillingly because of their parents, but some Mackenzie confused them in some way and brought them to church and to his ranch where they were fasting. And those that there were people called the fasting officers or fasting supervisors among Mackenzie's cult, where the people in Chakama Ranch, and just to give you the picture of where Chakama Ranch was, Chakama Ranch is located in the 810-acre Shakahola Forest in Kilifi County. Shakahola Forest, the locals have been very saddened by this because Shakahola Forest is something that has been long valued by the locals as a historic site where the freedom fighter and strong woman known as Mekatilili Wamenza, who led the Mijikenda and the coastal people in their fight against the colonizers, the British colonizers. Shakahola Forest was the base of operations for the resistors, led by Mijikenda leader Mekatilili Wamenza. So Shakahola Forest is something that is so dear to the locals, and they have been petitioning UNEP and the government to make it a historical site. So for this to show up there at this moment was so disheartening and so shocking for the entire country and globally. People left their families without telling them where they were going, but they went to join this cult. For example, there was a Kenya Airways air hostess who, alongside her two siblings, took up her son, left her job at the national carrier, that's Kenya Airways, and they went to join Mackenzie's cult. We have stories of families from Western Kenya where a mother runs away with 2-3 kids to go and join the cult, leaving the father wondering, where is my family? We also have cases where the mother, father, and children went together, and other cases where one parent just disappears, leaves the other half of the family wondering where they went. We have some university students that decided to drop out. A mother was telling of a story where her son had decided to drop out in first year of university after being indoctrinated that education, government services, employment, and businesses are all things from the devil, which will hinder people from going to heaven. So this first year university stopped going to school despite having the entire tuition fee for that year being paid by his struggling mother, went and joined this church. We also have stories, there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of stories like this. People disappearing. Some would go to Malindi and then start calling their family saying that they've gone to work at a coastal town, let's say in Voi or Diani. They will say that they got some job in these coastal towns, only for them to be in the Chakama Ranch in Shakahola Forest. So we come to the point where people, and remember all this death toll, which is now at 211 in May 16, 2023, is of deaths that happened between 2019 when Pastor McKenzie closed down his church and television to go and start life in the Chakama Ranch inside Shakahola Forest. So people would die from the starvation, from the fasting, they'd be buried. And what's even more gruesome is that some of these were mass graves where 8 people were found, 18 people, 10 people were being found in one grave. It was so odd to find just one body in one place. Most of these were mass graves with children, parents. So someone would ask, why couldn't they just leave? Remember, these are people that have been indoctrinated. This is what indoctrination is. It's just the same way that terrorists indoctrinate some of the people using the Quran, radicalizing it to make them think that they'll go and blow up a stadium or a music concert and then get 72 virgins when they go to heaven. This is the same case with the religious indoctrination. It doesn't choose. We have seen a Kenya Airways air hostess, we have seen business people, we have seen government employees dropping everything, university students, to follow this person because they were incited and indoctrinated. What's even sad is that kids of 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old were found in Mackenzie's care in 2017 before he closed his church in Malindi, where they had refused to go to school and were living just in church listening to his teachings. When asked if it's Mackenzie that taught them that, they will refuse, as is common with these cults. They'll always protect their leader. To them, their leader is a unique being anointed by God himself or a higher power himself. So they are always willing. People that are in cults listen to their leaders 110%. They are willing to die for him. They are willing to die and suffer because of him or his teachings. So most of these people, when asked if it's Mackenzie that told them not to go to school, even these kids, they will say no, it's not Mackenzie. Most of these women, if told, why are you not going to hospital, the adults or any other person who refuses to go to hospital, they will say it's all evil and part of the evil scheme to make them not to go to heaven. So pregnant women would not go to seek the antenatal care that is common and necessary and a must during pregnancy to ensure that mother and baby are safe. They will overlook this because government services are bad and evil. People will close down their businesses, move from their hometowns or wherever they were from the city to go and be in Shakahola Ranch and fast. The locals in Shakahola welcomed Mackenzie and his group with warm heart, and just anybody that knows the locals in the coast of Kenya knows that 1, they are very hospitable, 2, they are very kind, they are very welcoming, very warm. The coast people are just the nicest. So they welcomed this group very well into their environment. But one thing that began to raise eyebrows with them is that the people that will emerge from the forest to come to the local shops or to fetch some water in the local water springs will be appearing so emaciated. So these people were wondering what's not going on inside here, but this Pastor Mackenzie followers never shared any information. A local remembers a story of a young boy of about 8 or 9 years old who escaped from the ranch. This local lives across the road from Shakahola Forest. So there's a tarmac road that separates the home of this person and the Shakahola Forest. So most of the time when people would come from Shakahola, the first sense of life they would find is this man's home. So this young boy of 8 or 9 years came to him and told him he needed something to eat. He had not eaten. And the man would look at him and saw that this boy was so emaciated. So they prepared some porridge for the boy and let him have it. So while the boy was having the porridge, he told this man, please don't let them come and take me. I don't want to go back there. I'm hungry and I'm suffering. Shortly after, a group of 2 people came, and then another, and then another. So there were 4 adults, and one of them was the young boy's father. The man told him that they asked for the boy, and they said that the boy's footprints had led them to that small homestead. So the man did not want any trouble. He told them the boy is here. He told the boy, are you willing to go with your father? The boy was reluctant and very, very visibly reluctant and afraid to go back there. So the dad, this man called the dad aside from the 3 other people that came with him and asked him, what's happening to this boy? He looks emaciated. He looks like something is really harming him. The father told this man that yes, we have been fasting and I'd really like to leave. I can give you a number for one of my brothers so that you can call him. They send us money and we can leave. I'm here with my wife and 2 kids. So this boy is one of the 2 kids. But they gave a number, they called, the money was sent and the people went. But the local was very sure that these people did not go out because he felt like it was a way of them duping him into letting the boy go with them. Another local also recalls of a time where he had made friends, and the people of Pastor McKenzie's church were making friends with locals. They will visit locals and preach the gospel to them, but they will never allow the locals to go to their place in the ranch. So this person had realized that these people from the church would only come to him, but they will never allow him to go to them, to their home inside the forest. So it was a bit suspicious for him, because as we all know, having a friend that only visits you and you can't visit them unless there's something special that you know about is usually suspicious. So this person decided to cut their ties with the people from the ranch. And there are so many stories of encounters like this with the locals and people from the Chakama ranch, where Pastor Paul McKenzie was running this fasting cult. The police have been exhuming bodies since April 15th, 2023, where Pastor McKenzie and 4 of his associates were arrested. Other associates have since been arrested, making the number of people that have been arrested alongside McKenzie, including his 3rd wife, whom he married in 2020 during the pandemic, and other fasting supervisors. Interesting, as with these cults, people that were rescued looking very emaciated, looking very, very, very emaciated and almost on their deathbed, refused to be rescued. They would actually tell these people, why are you doing this to us? Why don't you want us to see God? When Pastor McKenzie was arrested, he made a statement that has gone viral around the country, that he told these police people that whatever you are fighting with, whatever you are trying to interfere with, you don't know what it is, and it's going to really, really come back and bite you in the ass. He told them, whatever you're fighting, you don't know what you're fighting with, and you're going to regret it. So McKenzie was arraigned in court, and it also created a ripple effect where other bigger pastors were also arrested, including Pastor Ezekiel of New Life Church in Mavueni, which is also in the Coast region. Pastor McKenzie has since denied all the allegations and charges brought against him of running a cult, mass murder, religious indoctrination, where he was teaching his people about hating other religions. He was teaching his people about hating the government and rejecting government services, leaving their jobs and all these things, telling kids to stop going to school. He made his followers not seek help from the hospitals, so they were dying. And today, as I record this video, the death toll is at 211, with more families going to the area to see if they would find the remains or rescue their loved ones. I'm going to be here to continue following this story up because it's still developing. Despite having about 211 bodies, the police has also marked more potential grave sites inside the forest, and there are about 900 people reported missing but not found, whether in the hospitals or in the graves. So we expect that more will still unfold in this story, and I'll be here to catch up every step of the way. I wanted to give a special thank you to all my viewers who have watched the Jackie Maribe case recap. I was so elated and happy to see that it hit 1,000 views within 4 days. I know this is very, very interesting for a young YouTuber, a new YouTuber, and young channel in the platform to get such views at such a time, organic, without having to any support from big channels. So thank you so much, people. I hope you enjoy this one and the other one. And if you have not watched the Jackie Maribe analysis, the case against Jackie Maribe for where the state says that she may have killed her best friend, then please go back and watch it. I'll also be doing a part 2 of that video with more updates, so go and catch up on it and wait for the second part, which I'm going to bring on this platform after this one. So thank you so much. Have you experienced a cult before, or something that looked like a cult, a religious cult or any other cult? Has a family member been found with this Shakahola massacre, or does anybody you know have been found in Shakahola or any other cult? What do you think about cults? What is it that you think makes the pastors be able to indoctrinate people in such a manner at such a large scale? Conspiracy theories say that this was an organ harvesting cult more than it was religious indoctrination. We're going to continue following the case, and as more information comes, you can trust that I'll be here with it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this video as wide as you can. Bye. Mwah.